Hi, guys. It's Marlene of Living Your Best Life, and welcome to the Sunday Talk Show. Today on the program, we are going to be having an interview, a discussion with Tasha of Major Change Group. Yes, so I would appreciate if you guys could like it, share it, and if you have not already connected with Major Change Group, the link will be either in the description box or in the comment section. So, of course, you guys know I have to start with shouting out my members, the members of my channel: Beverly Black, Boss Life Online, Tony Clopton, Melissa King, My Econ, Van Life with Gina, Edward Smart, Tracy Oceanfire 777, Be Amazing Sylvia, Marlin Music Channel, Pittsburgh Artist Studio, Pandy's Hair Candy and more, Dunamis Sound Mind Services, Bozo Calvin Jr., Barry Johnson, I Am Tracy Lee, and Thrill Seeks. Thank you guys so much for your membership. And if you'd be interested, the join button is on my homepage. And you know how we do it. We got to start with the Best Life Crew song.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the Sunday Talk Show. I'm Marlene, and I am the content creator for Living Your Best Life. And if you're new to the channel, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. I have positive content over here. I talk about life lessons, encouraging things, positive things, and even things that you just want to vent and get off of your chest. This is the channel for you. I have a playlist on my channel. If you'd be interested, I would love if you could watch a few. So today, like I said, we have the interview with Tasha of Major Change Group. I'm so grateful that she has chosen to grace us with her presence. So let's welcome Tasha of Major Change Group. But before I invite her up, I just want to say hi to everybody in the audience. Hi, Charlene. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here. It's very much appreciated. Yes, guys. So I am going to invite Tasha up of Major Change Group. Hi. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. How are you doing today, Marlene?
Good. Very good. How are you today?
I am doing well.
Yes. So, for those who don't know about you and know about your channel, I'm just going to give you a few minutes for you to be able to introduce yourself, your channel, what you do on there before we get started.
Thank you, Marlene. All right, everybody. I hope that y'all are doing well and that y'all had a fabulous holiday weekend. So my name is Tasha, and I'm from the Major Change Group. And on my channel, we talk about budgeting. We want you to budget so that you can get your money right. Also, we talk about credit so that you do not have to have someone co-sign for you. And also, I talk about credit cards. I like to use my credit cards like a debit card so that I can make money off of my credit.
Awesome. Awesome. So, okay. So the first question that, of course, we want to know, what is something that you would like the audience to know about you? Like why you started YouTube, your family background, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah. So when I first started, maybe like 2.5 years ago, it's going to be coming up on 3 in February of 2020. At first, I really didn't know what I wanted to start my channel on because I did teach Zumba at one time. And then I like to go to different restaurants. But I also like budgeting. Budgeting is very important to me. So I just ended up, when I first started, I was kind of talking about a multitude of things like travel, but then I also would talk about credit cards. And then most recently, I just mainly focus on credit, student loans, and budgeting.
Awesome. So the most important thing on your channel is budget and crediting.
Right. Yes. Because
Okay.
I think to me, when your money is right, that's the foundation of everything. And then you can kind of use your energy for other things because we always want to make sure we have our four walls. We want to make sure we have our housing, our and then even your transportation, your utilities, and then food. Those are just the basics.
Awesome. Yes. Hi, Your Money Network. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. So you were saying that it's important, the budget and crediting. So give the audience an idea of what to do when, sometimes they don't even know where to start. How can you even start?
Right. So, like I say, the best way to start is just getting you a pen and paper. So I say, even before you can make money with your credit cards, you kind of have to know where you can start. And that is with getting a pen or paper and writing down your expenses so that you know how much money you have coming in compared to how much money you have going out. And then see how much money you have left over. And then that can let you know what you can do. The next thing is, if you, let's say maybe you don't have enough money to make it to the end of the month, do you need another job? So do you need a side hustle? And I like to say, most of the time I feel like we have enough money, but we're just nibbling off of it and we don't have a plan, and that's where it makes it seem like maybe we don't have enough. So that's where you could put into place doing auto pay or bill pay. That way you can be on top of it. And
Awesome.
mhm,
Oh, continue. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
no problem. And then the next thing is, once you know how much you have coming in compared to what you have going out, and you know your foundation, then here's where you could possibly start doing a debt snowball if you have debt. So then you want to do your smallest debt to your largest. That way, when you're doing the debt snowball, let's say if you have something that's maybe just like $500, and if you've done your budget and maybe you have a little money set aside, you can go ahead and pay that off. But if you don't, and you just have like a $25 minimum payment, but then you might have $100 left over, do that debt snowball. And then in what, 3 or 4 months, you'll be done. And then you'll just go to the next thing. Next, what we want to do is pull our credit, because I know a lot of people
Oh boy.
pull our credit because sometimes, we might go out and we will apply for a credit card or apply for that car loan, and we don't know what our credit is. So we want to get a basis of where we're at. So that way we'll know exactly where we can start. And then if, let's say, you have, high utilization or things like that, how can we clean up our credit? So that would be the next thing.
Yeah, so the question is, Tasha, how do you even start to clean it up? Because that can be so overwhelming.
It can. And so that's why I think how the first way to get your credit cleaned up is pull your credit report. So you can go to annualcreditreport.com and pull your credit report from there. Or you can, I think you said even going to like Experian. Sometimes I go to Experian too, and you can pull your credit report. Even if you have credit cards, like I have Chase, and I'm able to pull my credit report there. And then you want to pull your credit score because you want to know where you start. So then, like I said, get you that pen and that piece of paper, and you want to write down all of your debts. You want to print out each of the 3 credit bureaus. So you got Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, because you want to take a look at each of those and see, is everything lining up on each of those 3 credit reports. So then after you have your credit reports, then we're going to make a list to do. Well, we're going to write everything down. So we're going to write our debts down. So this could be your current accounts. Let's say you might have collections and things like that. So what we want to do first is we want to work with the things that are active, because the things that are active, that's probably where you can get the more bang for your buck. I would usually suggest doing your credit utilization. So let's say if you have maxed out credit cards or anything over 30%, you want to get that as low as you can. But just start where you can. If that's just writing everything down so that you'll have a list, that's better than anything because you want to know where you are starting.
Right. And I don't know if it has happened to you yet, Tasha, but for me, it was overwhelming when I started because I didn't know where to start. But I think one of the most important things is that you have to get very organized when it comes to your money. Do you have any tips or recommendations for how they can start to, um, put everything together, like their budget, their what?
Mm-hmm.
You have any recommendations for the audience?
Well, I would most definitely say if you have a pen or paper, get you a notebook. So you can start with a notebook. That's kind of where I started, just at a notebook, and then I moved from a notebook to Excel. Then I moved from Excel to, like now I have my own budget planner. But start at the basics and just getting you a notebook so you can start with this month, especially with the new year coming. We want to make sure we're starting 2022 off the right way with knowing where to start. And that's why I say it's not about we just want to write it down first and
Right.
create a plan second.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's a good recommendation? Okay, I know for me, started from the beginning. Just think that maybe the audience is in the same boat like I was. They don't even know what is good credit, what is bad credit. I had no idea. I just thought if automatically because you pay your bills, you automatically have good credit.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know. So, if you could share some information on that.
Okay, so our credit score is made up of 5 components. So we have our payment history, our credit utilization, our new credit, our length of credit, and our credit mix. And so, like you said, making your payments on time, that's very important because that's 35% of your utilization. But I kind of say the best way to improve your credit score is your credit utilization. That's going to be the number one thing because if like if the banks are seeing you use up all of your credit, they're not gonna want to give you a whole lot of new credit. So that they really want to see you using your credit in a responsible way. So if you're maxing out the credit card every month, that's typically not a good way to go. And
Okay.
then next is your length of credit. And so that's why typically, let's say at 18, if you're going to buy a car, most of the time you're going to have a cosigner because you don't have credit at that time. But if you, let's say most of the time people might go off to college and they're going to have student loans. And if they, I definitely suggest doing maybe like a secured credit card. That way you're using your own money. Those are like some things that you could do to build your credit.
Yeah, and can you explain a little bit for those who don't know what is a secured credit card?
So a secured credit, so you have secure and you have unsecured credit. So secured credit is where, well, everybody wants unsecured credit because I don't want to use my money. I want to use their money. And so, but let's say if you have a no credit or bad credit, sometimes you have to rebuild. Either you're building or you're rebuilding. So that's where maybe you can start off with a secured credit card. So that could be maybe like the Discover It, where you can put really any amount of money. So that's why it's important to do your budget. So let's say you do your budget and you have $500 left over. As long as this money, you could just be a blind eye to this $500, then I would suggest putting it on a secured credit card. And then because it's going to be your money, almost like you're going to be your bank because you're going to have the secure credit card, and then you're going to be using the credit card every month, but then you're going to be paying it off. But that 500 that you put, you'll still have to pay, like if you spend $35 and then you have to pull $35 out of your regular checking account to pay it off.
Right.
So that's why I say to make sure this is money that you don't need.
Right. That's a good suggestion. So, could we talk about credit for a little bit? Can you explain like what is the lowest credit score you can have and what is the highest?
Yeah, so I want to say a 350 is the lowest. Either 300 or 350 is the lowest, and then a 850 is the highest.
Okay.
So I would
So,
say a pretty good. Well, I would say anything over 700 is pretty good. Maybe anything over 750, like you can pretty much get a really good interest rate. And so what your credit score really all your credit score is a number, because they're basing it off of those 5 components. How good are you at paying back your debt? So Marlene, if I was to ask you, Marlene, will you let me
mm,
borrow $10,000?
yeah.
Let's say you didn't know I was on YouTube and I do my budget. You might say, Tasha, I don't know. I can't just
Yeah.
give you $10,000 because I don't know your history. Maybe you're not good with money, so you're not going to want to just give me $10,000. That's kind of similar to the credit bureau, but see, they have all your information to say, well, Tasha don't pay her bills on time. Tasha gets her credit, she overextends herself to where she's
Mhm.
using her credit all the time, and she doesn't, and then she's trying to get more credit and she's just over her head in debt, you know those type of things.
Right. So, what are some of the things that some people can do to like help to improve their credit besides the secured credit card?
Well, I would say the main thing is, to me, even though the payment history is 35%, that's what I'm saying. If you need to do bill pay or auto pay, I would do it. But we'll get down to this. I'm going to say use your credit card like a debit card because that's a good way. But let's say you don't have a credit card. The best way to do it is to, one, make sure that your payment history is good, because that's going to be 35%. And I would say one is probably not going to be so bad, but if you have five, that's not going to be good. Because,
Mhm.
and then it's going to take time for it to drop off of your credit report, compared to maybe, let's say, well, even if you have one or two credit cards, your credit utilization, if you have credit that's over 30%, or if it's maxed out, then that's going to make your credit score go down, and that's 30%.
Ooh, yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot. That's a lot. So we got a
Yes.
question here. So, Miss Bull Roller says that your credit score, I guess, could be seen as your financial resume.
That is a good one.
Mhm.
And then also, Paula Benson, I meant to take a look. She said, please do not go to those companies that
Oh
say
yeah.
they can do this for you. I worked for one of the major credit bureaus. People would come in, and then really they could do it themselves.
Right.
But the thing is, you have to take the time to do it. But kind of on the front end, is going to take some energy for you to do it. But as you do it, you'll get really good at it,
Mhm.
to where it's not going to take you a whole long time.
Yes. So do you have any advice for some young people? Because I know when I first started out when I was young, I don't know. I just thought like I was just going to be 18. I was going to be able to apply for a credit card, get myself a credit card. I didn't think I had to work to do it. So, any advice for someone, like high school age or up to their 20s, any advice for what they should be doing and planning for some financial success?
Yes, most definitely, because I can say, because I was working, I think I was working probably when I was 15, and then probably when I was 16. Because see, you have different kind of credit. You have charge cards. That's more so, let's say, like your JC Penney's,
Right.
your Macy's, things like that. and then you have credit cards. So when I was in high school, probably, I don't know, 16, 17, I had a couple credit cards because I
Yeah.
was working. And I worked at JC Penney's for a long time. And so, being in the mall, I would get credit cards. And so,
Mhm.
well, I would get charge cards. So I started with charge cards. And then once I went to college, then that's when I got credit cards. But what I would say is, let's say if I had a like a was talking to a group of 16-year-olds. One, I would probably tell their parents to add them as an authorized user. If they have a credit card and they're in good standings, I would say to add them as an authorized user. That way they could be building their credit without getting any credit. You don't have to
Okay.
tell them that you're doing it, but help them to build that credit so that when they get 18, let's say they want to go and get a car, you don't have to co-sign for it because their credit, hopefully they would have built credit at that point.
Wow, that's some good advice. So all a parent or someone who is a guardian would have to do is add them as an authorized user.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say first, get the parent to add them as an authorized user so that they're building their credit. Second, if you are working, start saving money. Start putting aside, 10% or as much as you can, because most of the time, maybe you're living at home, but there are different circumstances in that situation,
Right.
but figure it out. So have some money for yourself, paying yourself first, but then also, paying your cell phone bill or those kind of things.
Yeah. So, what's some advice you would give to some younger people? Because I know I was guilty of it. When you get your first credit card, and you think everything you see, you got to get it, charge it all up, don't pay the bill when it comes. I know I tore up a few credit card bills, but like I'll pay it in a few months. I got to get a new pair of shoes or something. Any
Mm-hmm.
advice for some young people or
Yes.
even older people?
Yes, and then I'll get to crushing goals with Karen. So what I would say, because even when I was in high school and college, I would just buy, even when I got out of college, I didn't care. I don't know that we really learn to buy what we can afford.
Okay.
So I would only say, only spend what you can afford and pay the credit card off every month. Don't spend more than you can afford. So it goes back to crushing goals with Karen. Can you explain the difference between charge cards and credit cards? So charge cards are typically like your Macy's or Dillard's or where you're using it in the store. Because you know how you'll go to places and they'll say, if you want to get 10% off or maybe even 15% off, especially, we're in the holidays. And woo, I bet they are really getting people to sign up for these credit cards
Mhm.
so that they can get these extra percents off. Like right now, they probably giving like 20% or more, trying to get people to
Yes.
buy, get a credit card and just rack it up. But it's best to not like consume so much. Only pay for what you can afford. So say like for myself, I have several credit cards, but even if you have one, I don't have charge cards. Now more so I just have credit cards. And I use my credit card like my debit card. So I use my card for gas, groceries, going to the gas, groceries, restaurants, wherever mostly everywhere, going to take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or whatever. So I use my credit cards for my regular spending. But since I do my budget at the end of the month, I know how much I can spend. and then I just pay it off at the end of the month.
Wow. Well, that's good. Miss Full Roller says here, says, "Oh my God, you were able to get credit cards in high school? That was unheard of in my high school
Really?
years."
Yes. Because see, I was working. Because if you have your social security number, you can apply for a credit card. So I was working. I had my own money, and I was getting because I worked at JCPenney. Well, let me rephrase that. I had charge cards. But if I would have knew about credit, it wasn't until I got to college where I really knew about credit cards. So first I was using charge cards because that's what I could get since I was at the mall all the time. I was at the mall, working at the mall, and they want to ask you, get a credit card. And see, like when I worked at JC Penney's, you would ask people to sign up for credit cards. So then you just learn it. You learn how to do it. And then
Right.
I started with charge cards. And then I moved my way up to credit cards when I was in college.
So, the question, do you think it's beneficial to get a charge card in the store? Do you think that can be beneficial or not really?
Mm, I would say, yes, because if you use the same scenario with your credit card, and if you're gonna be able to, if they have a pretty good discount that you could get, and you're gonna pay it off at the end of the month, then to me, I don't think any credit is bad. No credit is bad. We just have to know how to use it. And so, that's why, as we get older, we learn how, because I can tell you, I didn't, like I said, I paid my fair share of interest as well. But for the past, probably 4 or 5 years, I haven't paid interest. But even if I had a credit card that had a balance, I would put it on a 0% interest credit card.
Okay.
And then I just worked my way to pay it off. And then now for the last few years, I've been just using my credit card because I didn't even know anything about using my credit card like a debit card. Because me going back, I originally was on the Dave Ramsey. So I love Dave Ramsey because I really feel like his principles are going to help us to get that foundation. One, get you a rainy day fund or an emergency fund. Two, start paying down your debt. So then, but he doesn't like you to have credit cards.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I don't necessarily agree with.
I'm on the same wavelength with you, Tasha, with
Yeah.
that. I was like, I gotta have my credit cards.
Right, because I like to use a credit card, even though I've had upwards of 10 credit cards, but I think right now I might have either 6 or 8 credit cards. But I think you could do with one credit card because, I've been, like we've been on a live together and I've really been thinking about it. And so I'm going to be doing a video coming up here soon. I know we kind of got off a little bit, but I'm going to be doing a video, one credit card versus a couple of credit cards. Because, I think I have like 7 or 8, but then I had Rod from Points Blank Travel.
Mm-hmm.
He has like 26. So, I really want to kind of delve down into it so that I could kind of go back to the basics.
Right.
And talk about it.
Yeah, I agree, Tasha. I've been wanting to ask you if we could collaborate on something because I want to do something on my other channel, Marlene TV, where you're going to help me to get my first credit card. That'll be interesting. You help me because honestly, it's not as easy as it looks. It's not easy as it looks. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes when you look at credit cards, like you see no APR. Should you have an annual fee? No annual, it's a lot. So I was like, I want to make a good decision. I want to find a credit card that's going to help me to raise my credit score right now. That's the biggest thing for me right now.
Right. And so that's where I was really going to like the Dave Ramsey, because I don't think if I hadn't done the Dave Ramsey, I don't think I would be in the place now to where I can use my credit cards like a debit card because it's just like now I really understand when I wasn't using credit cards, and then you're just using cash. But
Right.
sometimes I would just use my debit card because I never carry cash. So I would use my debit card. I've done the cash, then I would do the debit because I feel like you have to learn the information that you can and tailor it to your life, because nobody is in your household. Like, you have to figure out what's best for you. So like for me, I didn't want to carry cash. I didn't want to. So I would use my debit card.
Right.
And then I feel like doing that for a few years, that really got my foundation strong. And then I understood, okay, maybe I can use my credit cards, because now I'm in a place to where I understand it, because I was doing my budget. I understand how much money I had coming in, and then even, the extra money that you have. And so now I understand how to use my credit card like a debit card, because it's really discipline. But
Yes.
you have to, so that's why I say everybody has to start where they can first, and then just doing your budget and just using your debit card. And then once you understand it and you can do it, because even like like we had Black Friday here,
Yes.
and then I had posted something on my on my community tab, and I was like, my Christmas budget is like this, but you'll have to go on there to take a look at it,
Yes.
because it was so funny. Because it's just like, and I'm not saying that to say that it was anything wrong with going out shopping, but it's just like, you know, do you really need all that stuff all the time? Just being more, it's just, how can I say it? It's just really understanding what you need, not necessarily just being a consumer, really just getting what you need. So like when I say that I'm using my credit cards, even like when I'm trying to get a new credit card so that I could get the points or the bonus, I'm not doing any additional, I'm not creating spending for myself. And I
Right.
think, you don't want to create additional spending for yourself on your credit cards. You just want to use, you're doing your budget. So you're doing
Right.
your budget, and then you know how much money you have coming in. And so that's why I say, when I talk about, I'm going to probably make over $2,000 or probably 2,500 off of my credit cards for the year 2021, you might be able to do more, because you might have, your expenses might be a little bit higher than mine. You might spend more money compared to what I spend.
Right. So I had a question for you. A person who is, they not really responsible with their money. What would you like recommend that they do to start? Because I can say, like, when you're young, most of us, the whole financial aspect of learning to budget your money, learning to use your credit wisely, your credit score, all of that, it's something that you don't learn in school. It's a whole different kind of financial academy that you kind of gain that kind of knowledge. So is there anything that you would like recommend, that any books or some people that you would recommend that people listen to help them along their journey?
Yeah, I would say, I definitely would say Dave Ramsey. And then you have Anthony O'Neill. I love Anthony O'Neill. He's a millennial that really understands us. Then, you got like Susie Orman, and then there's this other lady, Gail Val Oxley. She was on, I want to say, CNBC, but I would say go online, go on YouTube, even like my channel. I'm discussing it based off of my experiences. Go on YouTube or any of your social media, type in budgeting, type in getting your money straight, and you'll be able to find all kinds of people doing this.
Right. I think that that's the most important thing. It's something that you can't blame anybody else when your financial situation is not right. But you have to take responsibility for your own self, and sometimes that means that you have to honestly look at your credit score and all of that, and then seek ways to fix it. Another thing I would recommend to everybody is that you can't just think that it's going to go away. Like when you don't pay a bill or you don't pay a debt, it's not going to go away. And I lived in that awareness. I thought once it charged off, it does not affect me anymore. That's what
Ooh,
I thought.
that's when it really affects you.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. And I know that I'm not the only person to think that way, but that's what I thought. It's like, if I don't pay it, oh well,
Well, you
it'll
know
go
what?
away.
You know what I was saying? It's almost like losing weight. You know how you just, let's say you're uncomfortable. Your clothes are not fitting right. So you know that maybe you have to back off of eating all those sweets. And for Thanksgiving, like I was tearing it up with the macaroni and cheese and all that stuff. So I know that I'm gonna have to cut back. If I'm not fitting in my clothes the way I want to. And so I say that's the same thing with your money. Like you want to do better for yourself. And if you are, you getting all these notices in the mail, or you getting all these calls and you don't want it, how can I get better? How can I get things on a good track? And so that's why I go back to creating a solid foundation for yourself, because when those things are solid, then that's when you can, even like more mentally, because I can go back to several years ago. So maybe 8 years, maybe a little bit longer. It's so funny. I was just living my best life. I was just living my best life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a job that I really, I knew I was kind of wanting something more. But you know how things happen. And then one day my boss came in and he said that they're making some changes. Because at this time I was in management. And so you know how usually maybe things kind of at the bottom start happening first and you can kind of notice things. But I was still doing good. I was traveling, I was going to concerts, I was doing everything that I wanted. So while I knew that I wanted something else, it just wasn't at the top of mind, kind of when I wanted.
Right.
But then this one day he comes in and he says they're making some changes and my pay was cut 26%. So my pay was cut 26%. I had my
Wait a
own.
minute, 26%. Just
Yes.
like that. And that's just how they told you, 26%?
Well, basically, okay, so to back it up a little bit, either I had to take a severance and leave the company, or I had to step down. So I decided to step down because at the time, I just didn't know if it was going to be so easy for me to find something that I wanted. So I didn't want to risk that because it was me. I have my house. I had, things like that. So I did not want to risk the chance of just getting a severance and then just waiting it out. So I decided to take a decrease. I decided, because like I was in management, and so I decided to step down. And when I stepped down, I lost 26% of my pay. So, like I told you, I had been looking for things, but when that happened, woo, you talking about lit some fire under my butt. Like that lit the fire under my butt.
Oh, yes.
And so I was just, looking for jobs and all that kind of stuff. And it took me a few months, but I found something. But even when I did find something, it wasn't the pay that I wanted, but it was the company that I wanted.
Okay.
And so if I wasn't, so that's where I had came up with the idea of not living paycheck to paycheck. And how to make it easier for yourself, because when you're used to eating out all the time and traveling all the time and spending your money how you want, sometimes it can be a little difficult. So, but by me I had already been a budgeter at that point. So I feel like it didn't hurt me. I wasn't eating bologna sandwiches. Cause at first I was really scared because I'm just like, dang, and I always say, even, I have an amazing family. And so, I have my but it's just like you don't want to abuse your family, right?
Right.
So, and then it was just me. So that's why I'm saying I cut back, so that's why you have to write your stuff down. You have to know how much money you have coming in compared to going out, so that you will be able to so it didn't really, it hurt, but it didn't just kill me. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So,
And
Tasha, when you're saying 26%, can you tell us about how much money that was that you lost per paycheck?
um because this happened like a few years ago, but that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. 26%. I just remembered that it was 26%.
Okay.
26% was a lot of money. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? It could have been over. I can't say for sure,
Yeah, but
but I
that's a
know that
quarter.
it was.
That's over a quarter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That it was. All I remember is that it was 26% of my pay, and so that had to be. I'm trying to think. I don't know, because this happened maybe like 8 years, 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
So this wasn't this wasn't recently.
Okay.
But see, the thing is, just take your check, do 26%. You know what I'm saying? That's not anything to sneeze on. You see what I'm saying?
No.
So let's say if you bring it home, um the average person brings home what, 3,000. So let's say you bring it home $3,000. That's gonna be over what, $800.
Yeah.
you know that that
Hmm.
hurts. You see what
That
I'm saying?
that hurts a lot.
That hurts. So especially, just like Miss Full Roller said, 26% is a lot, no matter the pay. If your income is barely covering, yes, if your income is barely, but I would say 26%, no matter what, is gonna
Yeah.
hurt.
It's gonna hurt.
You know
Um.
what I'm saying?
So when that happens, and then you made a decision that you were. So did you wind up leaving that company, or did you wind up staying?
Yes. So I stayed. So I stepped down and I stayed. And it was maybe a couple of months. It could have been between 6 to 8 months. Where it took me to find something else. But even the next position that I got, maybe I went from 26%, maybe I gained a little bit. I didn't,
Okay.
so that's what I'm saying. It still took me, but it was the company that I wanted to work for. So then,
Okay.
because at that time, then I had got my master's. I had my master's degree at that time, and so the company that I ended up going with, I started at the bottom. So I
Okay.
started at the bottom, and then next thing you know, I had moved up to a team lead and a manager, and then I
Wow.
had did that in a matter of a year and a half.
Wow.
And so then I was back where I wanted to be. So
Wow. That's excellent. That's
right.
inspirational,
Mhm.
Tasha.
But
Because I
but
know.
I would
Yeah.
say the main piece of that is, if I didn't understand my money, it could have been more drastic than it really was. You see what I'm saying? Like, it
Mhm.
hurt. And so that's why I'm saying, any goal that you're wanting to create, there are gonna be ebbs and flows of, okay, just like I was saying, you want to know how much money you have coming in, going out, and then you want to check your expenses, because the thing is, do I need to cut back? Do I make enough? And even though you might have to cut back, it doesn't mean that you have to cut back forever. It could
Yeah.
just be like, for me, I just had to cut back for those, six
Yeah.
to eight
Mhm.
months. But then I was back, you know, were kind of in a better position, but then it still took me a little bit more time to get really where I was more comfortable. But I really feel like you have to have your foundation solid so that you will know what to do.
Exactly. And that's why I say that, when it comes to budget, your credit, anything financial, your money, it's a financial awareness. It's an educational process and what you do with the education, because just like everything, you can have a lot of knowledge of what you should do with when it comes to your credit and your money, but are you putting it into action? Are you actually working within that budget? Because we can know that we need to save some money or not buy a certain thing. But then if you go ahead and keep doing things to hurt yourself, hurt your budget and your credit, you're only hurting yourself.
Right, exactly. Because having that foundation is really gonna be very beneficial, because we know, even it, because for me, I don't think it matters how much money you make. Even if you, because like this one show that I would watch all the time, and they would have the one lady come into the house, because it was four couples, and it would be two people in the household, and they would make like over $100,000 with two people in the household. You would think, like, making over $100,000 in the household, there should be no way that they're living check to check.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. If you're not understanding your money, because see, that what I always say is, that's why I say we have to know how much money coming in, coming out. Because let's say you want to go get another job. If you don't know how much money you have coming in, how do you really know that you need another job? Because most of the time we could be nibbling off of the money, and we're just not allocating it the correct way. So let's say our bills are due here, but then if we don't, we get paid and then our bills are due. But if we're just spending our money however we want, we don't know. And then that's why we think, man, I never have no money. Well, it's not that you
Yes.
never have any money, it's just the way that you're spending your money.
Yeah, it's about your spending habits, and you got to pay attention to that. Because like I did a video, I think when we did our collaboration together on my other channel, I talked about it, how when I started looking at my budget and seeing how much was going out, I was wasting about $800 a month. And $800 is a lot. And I'm like, oh, I can't pay down any of my debt. No wonder you can't pay down any of your debt. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're wasting the money. So we got to pay attention to how we're spending, so that we can take care of not wasting money, and put our money in the right, in the right things that we want to do.
That's right. Let's see, 100,000 is nothing when you're living in high economy. That is considered low income, especially in San Francisco, New York, because of the cost of living. That's very true.
Yeah.
Because I can say for myself, me and my family, we were, because I live in Nashville, Tennessee. And man, Nashville, we have just grown. And a lot of people moving from New York to Nashville. Like, I mean, it's so many people moving to Nashville. And so they have a lot of construction. So we were going through and looking to see, and they have all these new apartments. Well, like these days, if you get like a new apartment, the even the rent is so high. Like a nice 1-bedroom apartment is probably like $1,500.
Exactly.
And that is a lot of money, especially thinking, let's say you barely bringing in $3,000, and you have a 1-bedroom that's $1,500. Like, ooh, that's half of your income.
And you haven't even talked about your light bill, your food, gas.
And so that's where I would say, like, if that was, so if I knew somebody like that, I would definitely say, if they did their budget to know how much money they have coming in compared to going out, and if they use my scenario where they use their credit card like a debit card, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be tight, but I think that they would be able to do it. And then they could what they could do is then at that point I would say, what can you do as a side hustle to bring in some additional money? You know, especially like now these days, there's so many jobs out there that they could maybe do that.
Right. Um, Yeah, I think that's important because a lot of times we will try to say we need to get a second job, but we're wasting it. And also you can be using too much electricity. There's sometimes where you can tweak some things.
So Miss Kim Savvy, I used to get on a few colleagues that were six-figure earners that cried when there was a hold on government budget for payroll. I was fine because I never spent much above my requirements. And that's the thing. And so that's why I always say, you know, even like with the Dave Ramsey, he'll say, do $1,000, save $1,000. I mean, well, we know, and then he, depending on how much you would make, he would even say 500 or 1,000, and then do your debt snowball. And but just like what Miss Kim is saying, if you could save even like a little bit more, because she's saying, especially with the government, sometimes you don't know if they're going to have the budget. But if you had some money set aside, then you would be maybe okay just for a little bit, because more than likely you're going to get the money back. I believe, I don't work for the government, but I think they would still get the money back. But you got to be able to hold yourself for a little bit until they could give you the money. Wouldn't you need to learn how to invest your money so that it grows? Most definitely. But I would say, because just even like with the Dave Ramsey principles, he's going to say, one, get you an emergency fund or a rainy day fund. Two, pay your debt off. Then you can start investing. So like for me, I have my 401k, but I'm going to be learning more about investing coming up, because for me, because when you're talking about finance, it's so many levels to it. So first it's your foundation. So that's why I always talk about with your foundation, making sure that you know where you're at, and then you will be able to invest. Because if you don't have any money coming in, then it might not be for you to really invest, because if you're, like when they had that stock, that crypto that was, I can't remember, but from time to
Dogecoin.
time, yeah, they had that. But it's just like, if you don't have a whole lot of money, at that point, it's almost like you're gambling. And why would you gamble your money and then you don't have money to live? Like I said, that goes back to your four walls. Then you're not making sure your foundation is covered before you do something like that.
Right. I do think it's important that you have to look at, your debt, how much you're spending, your debt to income ratio, your credit, it's a lot of factors that go into it.
Yeah. And then Edward, he said your rent mortgage should be no more than a third of your income. I do agree. But because that's the one thing for myself with me getting my property, like, I think that's the best. I'm just like, that's the best thing that I ever did, because where like rent is been going up, my mortgage, it didn't go up, so there are times when the property taxes go up, but for the most part, the mortgage is not going to go up. I have refinanced my house one time, but I did not take any equity out of my house because I didn't want to, create an extra bill for myself. But I did want to, especially when the interest rates are going down, you want to take advantage of that. And so I did refinance the house once, but I think that's the best thing that I ever did with the rent going up. So, these days I don't really know, because somebody said down here, true, Edward, however, housing costs and stagnant wages has made it such that it's not possible anymore. And I think that I can kind of agree with that, because especially, sometimes you're not maybe able to live in the nicer places, because, I always wanted to, when I was living in an apartment. I always wanted to live in the nicer apartments. So, but these days, I'm just like, whoa, apartments are very expensive.
Right.
Paula says she really likes Nashville. Yes, Paula, Nashville is amazing.
Yeah.
And
So the question was here. I think yeah, Kim says they were going to get paid retroactively, but they were still crying because they overspent because they were living right at the edge.
Right, exactly. And so that's where I'm saying they're living on the edge of their income. They're living on the edge of their credit cards. It's just like, whoa, that's why I can't say it enough. I think it's just gone with the days of us not understanding our money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like we have to understand our money if we want to. I just think that's the basis. It's just like you want to get your money straight. You don't want your, because I don't want to be worrying about am I going to be getting calls or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So because it's just so many other things that we have to worry about. Do we want our finances to be one?
Right. Yeah, and we have to learn to be responsible because I don't know if you like me or the audience, sometimes how it shows up, especially in people of our skin tone, there's a lot of ignorance out there. Like you're told that there's certain things that you can't do, like even things like getting a credit card. I was always heard that, lie growing up, that, oh, we can't get any credit. So we can't listen to things from other people who are ignorant about things. We have to do our own research and find out what is really the truth and work within that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think so. Because, see, that's what I'm saying. Even with, let's say, Dave Ramsey, he teaches not to use credit. But, like, I like to use credit cards. But I think, I feel like we're taught credit cards are bad. But credit cards are not bad. It's just how it's just how we use it. And if we're not necessarily taught to pay the credit cards off every month, we think that we're living above our means to where we're financing everything.
Right.
But there's one other question. Paula said, yeah, I learned to have 3 accounts that I put money in to pay bills, emergency fund, investments. I agree with Patty because I have several accounts. Because one, let's say even if you're doing auto pay, because sometimes they can mess up. So I wouldn't have that on my main account. So I say have as many, like I've had upwards of 5 checking accounts and then I have different things coming out of those accounts because I don't want you messing with my main money.
Right.
Don't mess up my main money. And that's why I like using my credit cards. So yeah,
that's important. The many.
Remember when Reagan fired the air traffic controllers? The many near an actual government shutdown. Yes. That should have shown that even government jobs are not guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because I don't know about everybody in the chat, but when my parents were growing up, they always thought that they were going to have a pension, something to fall back on. But I feel like for some people, that's just not something even possible because you could be thinking that you're going to be getting this pension after you work with the company so long, and the next thing you get laid off. So you can't think that your job is guaranteed.
Right. And my dad, he always talking to me like here lately because so I'm paying my auto loan off. So I got my auto loan last year, the end of October. And so I had got a 60-month loan. But when I got it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to pay it off in 30 months. But by the time January 2021 came around, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to pay it off in a year. So then he's telling me, especially with me being able to do that, because it was, a little bit over a $20,000 loan. And I was pretty much Right now it's under like $6,000. So within a year I got it under $6,000. And so he's telling me, like you need to be focusing on your retirement and all that kind of stuff. And so I tell him, once I get this done, then because I do have my 401k and my work, but I'm gonna consider moving it up and then doing my own. I'm gonna get a Roth IRA probably
Right.
in January.
Yes, I think it's important, Tasha, because yeah, I think it's important to do investments and plan for your retirement and the future and all of that stuff. That's good. But I do think it's important. You got to get control over your foundation, like
Yes,
you said.
that's what I say too. Because see, the thing is, in those days when somebody retires, so I'm gonna say maybe the 80s, maybe let's say the 80s. When somebody retired, they didn't still have debt on their house. So, on the one hand, I do feel like, yeah, you do want money to come in, but you don't want to have debt. And if we're just saddled with all of this debt, then that's going to hurt us. So it's just like you want to do a mixture of debt, paying your debt down, but then also, yes, having your retirement fund as well. But if you're going to be paying a whole lot of debt down at your retirement age, then you're going to be eating up your retirement.
Yeah, and I think it's an important conversation to have. It's a conversation I had with Miss Pool Roller on my other channel, Marlene TV, when we were talking about if you don't plan for the unknown, like when you talk about say you get laid off from your job or you get sick or something happens in your family, now what? So you do have to plan for the future, that just in case something happens to me, just in case I cannot work, or maybe like what happened to you, maybe they lower your pay rate.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what will happen, so that's why it's important to have something like you said, that emergency fund.
Mm-hmm. Paula Benson, she said that she's leaving. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Yes, thank you, Paula, and
And then
everybody who is in the chat. And
Pernell says,
Boss Life Online dropped the link to your channel,
thank you.
Major Change Group. So
Mhm.
anybody who's here in the chat or anybody who's watching in the replay, please head on over to Major Change Group. She has an amazing channel, and well, how often do you do videos, Tasha? Weekly?
I try to like at least 3 times a week,
Okay. Okay.
with Thanksgiving. I like even the week coming up, like I really wasn't posting as much. So but for the most part, I try to do something every at least 3 times a week, but especially since we're going into 2022 here within 32 days or so. I definitely want to talk more about how to prepare. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. So I'm going to bring this to a close, but before then, I'm going to let you close out and give any tips to the audience, anybody on the replay, before we end.
yeah, I would say the most important thing to do is, one, gaining awareness. Like I said, even with the weight loss analogy, especially with Thanksgiving, just leaving it, like I was eating all the macaroni and cheese and all the sweets. And when we're uncomfortable, we know how to, okay, I need to get out there and walk more, I need to go to the gym. But that's the same thing with our money. If we're uncomfortable with things, let's say we're getting past due bills in the mail, or they're calling us. If we're getting uncomfortable in those ways, how can we correct that? So you want to just get your foundation in order. And what does that mean? One, get a budget and just write down how much money you have coming in compared to how much money you have going out, and really see what you have left over. Do you need to get another job? Or do you make enough, but you're just not allocating things in the right way? So then I would say, do you need to do put some of your bills in auto pay or bill pay. That way you can pay your bills on time. The next thing is to save a rainy day or an emergency fund. And then also check your credit so that you will know, pull your credit report from annualcreditreport.com and really see where it's at. That way, let's say this year, 2022, that you're just like, I'm tired of paying rent and I want to get a house. How is your credit looking? Or you want to get a car? How is your credit looking? And what do you need to do to get that in order? Making sure you're paying your bills on time, and then making sure that you're not maxing out on your credit cards or have it over 30%. I would say paying it off every month is going to be the best way. And then the last thing is, if you can use your credit cards like a debit card, do that. One, so that you can earn money, but then two, that you can, one, I would just say that you can earn money, but you want to make sure that you're paying it off every month, because we don't want to be paying the credit card companies money. But if you can't, and if you have debt, start where you can by writing your debts down and then doing your debt snowball. And then if you can move it over to a 0% interest credit card, do that. But even when you're starting this journey, don't beat yourself up. Just start where you can and go on the internet. You can go on my channel, the Major Change Group. You can go on Dave Ramsey. Or just type in, budgeting, how to budget, how not to live check to check, because there is so much information out there so that we can learn how to do those things. Because if we can just get our foundation in order, that's going to be the best thing.
Right. And I just wanted to mention you were also on I can't remember, I just had a blank. You were just on her channel talking about how
Suzette Speaks.
Yes. Suzette, so you guys who have not seen that discussion, I would really recommend it, because I was in there with a notepad and a pen.
Yes, yeah. You can always go over to my channel, because I would say the last couple of months, that's kind of what I've been focused on more, just improving our credit. And then, but I also talk about credit cards because I love using my credit cards. So let's see. Yep. So Vernell said, if you have a business account, put everything on your business account. If you don't have a business account, what you need to buy on your credit card, pay it off in 30 days. Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I would say mainly, even with that, if you have a business, just don't commingle your money for your business and your personal account.
Wow.
But like she said, pay your credit card off every month.
Yeah.
But start where you can. If you can't, then just start where you can. If your utilization is high, then if you gotta, go from 50 to 48, I think creating the plan is the main thing. And once you work on that plan and that goal, you will succeed. But if you don't write it down, you don't even know where to go.
Right.
Or how to start.
Yeah, I think that's some really amazing advice, because it doesn't matter how big you start. The only thing that matters is that you start. So yeah. So it's been a wonderful discussion. I've loved having you here.
I always love coming on your channel.
Yay!
And your subscribers definitely ask some great questions, and they're knowledgeable. They're very knowledgeable themselves. So look, you have a great group of people over here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you so much for coming to the channel. And those of you who don't know Tasha of the Major Change Group, now you do. My wonderful co-host. Yes. So head on over to her channel. She has great content over there. And we appreciate you being here, Tasha.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And you're welcome back anytime.
Of course.
Okay. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. This is the end of the Sunday Talk Show. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks for being here. And isn't she an awesome co-host and guest. Yes, she has an amazing channel. She will get you all the way together for your credit, for budgeting, and tell you how to use certain credit cards the right way. So just an awesome channel to have. And I'm so glad that I have connected with Tasha of the Major Change Group. It really has benefited myself personally, and I know that it can benefit you guys as well. So I thank you guys for watching. And I would love to see you guys next week or on the next video. And like I said, every single video, just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life. Bye bye, guys.